Good evening and welcome to the Private Property Podcast, where we provide you with valuable knowledge and information on all things property related. Whether you're a first time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or you're just looking for some expert advice, we have got you covered. All you have to do is tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. for tips, insights, and expert advice on burning topics related to property, because this podcast is brought to you by Private Property. Remember, you can find your new home on privateproperty.co.za. Welcome to the Private Property Podcast. On tonight's episode, we'll be unpacking effective saving strategies that will help you to save up for the deposit on your next home. Joining me in studio to chat about this interesting topic is someone who needs no introduction. He always gives us such practical advice. Of course, I'm talking about Percy Singo. But before we dive into the conversation, remember to comment below. Share your thoughts about today's show. You can also join the conversation by using the hashtag #FindYourNewHome on privateproperty.co.za and hashtag the Private Property Podcast on all social media. We may even include some of your comments on today's show, because this is the Private Property Podcast, where we provide you with valuable information on all things property related. Like I said, I'm not alone in studio. I am joined by Percy Singo. What I want to know from Percy is, we're talking about savings and he's our in-house savings expert. But before I dive into the conversation, I want to mention this. The national savings rate measures the income households, businesses and governments save. Right? According to businesstech.co.za, South Africa's savings rate is at a shocking level compared to its emerging market peers, currently sitting at a dismal 0.5% in 2023. Now, according to Business Tech, Capitec, for example, recorded a staggering 6.3 billion rand in impairments, an 80% increase compared to the previous financial year. Percy, this one is for you. Why do you think it's so difficult for South Africans to save?
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. And I think it's very important for people to develop the skills and the principle of saving, because things at the moment, they are very expensive, especially with the interest rate going up and up. So many people cannot afford a lot of things. And then some are even considering selling their properties. So one of the ways that can help you on that shortfall, I believe that it's saving. And then there are also a lot of people that have lost jobs during this period from 2020 to now. And then at least when you've got saving, you buy yourself time, because you've got that time which you can say, I will be looking for another job. Instead of somebody like me to be going back to vendor in the villages, I can still have those savings that I can use while I look for another opportunity.
So when you say to people you should be saving, what excuses are they giving you as to why they're not meeting these savings goals? No, because I think it's a relevant thing to discuss. That is the question at hand, is even with the little that we have, what can be done? What is stopping people? What are the roadblocks here?
For example, something like what do you call it? Black tax. It's one of those reasons why a lot of people are saying they can't save. And then I feel like the way to solve it is to maybe come up with something. For example, if you want to buy a car now, for me, how I do it, if I want to buy a liability, I look at my property investment to say, what can I do in order to afford this car? So for me, it can take maybe 2 bachelors. If I can just build 2 bachelors, I know that I can use that return to afford a car. So I feel like even with black tax, if you feel like you've got black tax, why don't you think of a way in which you can make money, which you can use that money to give to your parents? So I feel like that can be one of the solution. And then again, you need to manage it. Anything that you don't manage, you lose it. So it's very important to manage it in terms of telling them, the family members, to say, this is how far I can go. After this, I cannot be able to assist. So that even when they are using that money, they have it in their mind, or this is all that we have, so that they don't come in the middle of the month to expect you to give them something more. So I feel like that's one of the The reason is that people are giving to say, I cannot save because of this. But when I look at it, I've realized that one of the things that is making people not to be able to save is that saving, there's no one who clap hands for you for saving. It's like, it's not those things that people, they applaud you to say you save a lot. So if you want recognition out there, you have to do something with your money that will give you the recognition. And then usually, or mostly, most people, they end up committing a lot of debts, that those debts, they hook them up in a way that you are not able to save anymore. You find having a lot of those liabilities. So it's those things that you bought that don't generate money. They are, all of them, they are taking money. So you end up not being able to save.
Are you someone who naturally saves, or is it something you sort of had to develop over time? This sort of savings personality that you're now known for. Percy's the guy who always saves 80% of his salary somehow.
It's very fortunate that I learned the principle early. Because my mother is a single mother, so she was working in a church as a full-time employee. So she was taking me with to most of those church conferences, and that's when I started to hear about financial management. So by the time I started working, I was not one of those people that make a lot of mistake, then they want to turn and fix things around. For me, from the first month, I started to save. So it started back then in 2010 when I started working.
So you're saying that you were raised in an environment that sort of fostered this financial literacy and management from a very young age. You were just in an environment that showed you how to be financially savvy.
Yes, correct. Which brings us to the question to say, who is responsible for teaching a child about saving?
Exactly.
Which is very important, because you find in our academic or in our schools, they are not teaching anything about saving. So you've got somebody who study accounting, but they are not good with their personal finance. You've got somebody in finance, but they are not good with their own finance. And some, there are even people who are coaches about finances, mentors about finances.
Their bank accounts are a mess, Percy.
But they can't manage their own finances, which is so important to say. There must be a structure that is helping people to save. Or if it's not a structure, it must be every parent to take it as their responsibility to teach their children about saving.
I'm going to throw things at you.
Yes.
We're finding now tips on how best to save. Okay. I'm going to say stuff and then you're going to expand on it.
Yes.
Is it fine?
No, it's okay.
Become an expert. Don't pay more than market value. We're now talking about saving towards buying your first property, which is really, it's your thing.
About that, I will say it's about negotiations. So that when you're going to buy a property, if somebody say, I'm selling a property for 500,000, it doesn't mean you have to go and buy at that price, because you've got those who are desperate sellers. They just want to get rid of their house. So if you just go there and say, no, I'm taking it for 500,000, that person will be fortunate. I mean, sometimes you have to negotiate to say, no, my offer will be in 450,000, for example. You can find you have saved 50,000 out of that deal. So it's very important to buy below market value as well, in terms of if you decide to say, I'm selling this property, you will have made profit out of it. But if you buy above market value, then you'll have a problem when you sell, and then you are realizing that the prices that you are getting, they are way lower than the prices that you used to buy the property. And then even though people keep on saying property, it's increasing in value, but if you buy above market value, then you are in a problem.
How do you now base, your estimations of this is a fair offer to give that's also below the market value? And in fact, this person is in a position to consider it instead of throwing it out.
Yes. I would say it's important to do a research. And then at the moment, there's a lot of platforms where you can go there and even see like the whole street to say all these people who are buying all these properties, they bought it for this price. You can see previous price of property in a street. So which can also help you to know when you go to negotiate to say, I cannot negotiate lower than the price that the person bought the property. I will negotiate around these figures.
Because now I also know what's happening on the rest of the street. And in fact, if someone else down the road is selling I can soma buy there as well and put in an offer. Okay, Percy, tell
Yes.
me about avoiding buyer's rush.
Okay. For me, I feel like there are both benefits and disadvantages because buyer's rush might be in a place where maybe there is a demand there. And then it can even help you to buy that property. But again, if you don't do proper research, that buyer's rush can also affect you in terms of you are buying without proper research. You don't know what's happening there.
You haven't had
And
someone
then,
come and look at the property to see if it's
yes,
built on a water
yes,
table, or
yes. And
you
at
know,
the
you just saw a
moment,
nice deal.
yes, and at the moment, there's a lot of inspections that you have to do when you buy property. There are people who just are there to inspect a property before you buy it, and then they give you a report, which you can even use that report to negotiate for better price. To say there's already this damage and this damage, can I buy at this property at
These
this price?
defects.
Yes, yes, correct.
Speaking of research, tell me
Yes.
about the importance of doing market research.
No, it's very important because, like what we have already said, that you have to know the prices of that area so that you don't buy it above market value. That's one of the reasons. And then again, there are just areas with bad things happening that you need to know
be
what's
aware of,
happening,
yeah.
to be aware of. So it's important to do that research and to go to buy a property with somebody who have done it before, because there's a lot of properties out there which people, they want to get rid of them, and then unfortunately they end up in the hands of the first time home buyer because you are so excited about the idea of owning a house that you can even undermine other things which you have to look at.
And sometimes the house is perfect. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the house. But on
Yes.
that street, there's
Yes.
never electricity,
Yes.
or it trips after load shedding every time. Then you've got
Yes.
power outages for 48 hours that you
Yes.
you didn't know anything about.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you. Is it important to compare current listings? Like we're saying, you do the market research, you see the prices of the other properties down the street. Maybe 3 or 4 of them are on sale. First of all, why? But now, must I compare even if I know that the kitchen here is nicer than the kitchen at the other place?
Yeah.
Is it helpful for me in any way to now be doing these comparisons, or does it add further confusion to my decision?
No, it does help to do that research because you want to know the market value of that area to say how much are the properties in this area. And then there are other people who extend their houses and then they extend it to a level where it's way, way above market value. In terms of, if you buy that property, you can even struggle to sell it because it's way outside the market value. Let's say you have a township and an urban area. You can find in a township there's a house which may be the same price that it's being sold for. You can be able to get another property
It's
in a
50
very
million.
nice urban area.
Yes.
So why should I invest in this place when there's a better area where I can get the property for that same amount? So it's very important that you don't just
Not to
buy
say there's
a
anything
property
wrong with
without
buying in the township. You can buy, maybe that's your home. You want to live there in your
no,
million rand
there's
house.
nothing wrong
in
because
Khayelitsha.
I invest a lot in a township and I know that the market is very good. But it's very important to know that I'm not being overcharged for those properties in the township. Yes.
So let's talk about the condition of a property.
Yes.
And when now to say, oh no, this is beyond,
Yeah.
this is beyond anything I can cope with
Yes.
or manage, because it's
Yes.
going to cost you so much more in the long run.
Yes. Yeah, no, then it will depend on why are you buying a property. Because there are people like me who will buy and then you just want to extend that house or to demolish and you build something better.
Percy doesn't care. Percy's like, I'm going to buy it with its cracks and its mold and its everything because I'm going to make something else anyway.
So it depends on that. If you are saying, I'm going to buy this house and you can see that it's being undervalued and then it's a benefit for me because I have a plan of a bigger project in that stand.
You're going to build a mall when a person. Other people are seeing a house when you're seeing a shopping center.
But again, if it's a issue of saying I'm going to stay there, it's very important to do a proper investigation of what's happening on that property. Because the moment a house is registered in your name, it's very difficult to try to claim to say there is a leakage of this. It has once happened to one of my property where I bought it. And then just a few months later, there was a leak on the geyser. Then I was expecting the old owner to come and fix it, but the attorneys, they advised that it can't work like that. You have to claim from your own insurance.
It's your
And
house
then when
now.
you claim from your own insurance, obviously you'll have money that you'll have to pop up to fix that damage. So it's very important that you do a proper investigation of what's happening in the house. And then at the moment, there are even companies that are just there to come and do those inspections for you. And then they can tell you that this is a good buy or it's not a good buy.
We've spoken to a number of people who do that kind of thing on the show. And for me, the importance of people who do that, it cannot be overstated when it comes to property. Would you say that you would advise absolutely everyone who is ever, whether you're a new home buyer, you seasoned investor,
yes,
how important is this, honestly, to get a professional in and say, this crack means this little thing means that, do A, B, C, D, E?
Yeah, no, it's very important, especially because I'm a civil engineer.
Mm.
I know that there are cracks which they are not just minor cracks. These are structural cracks which to fix them, it will take you a lot of money. Then at the end, you will have bought that property way above market value. So it's very important to have those experts to come in.
Now the wiring is off, Percy. Your house is catching on fire. You didn't know that your house is going to catch on fire. You look like an arsonist.
Yeah, so it's very important to do that, to look for those services.
Tell me how you went about strategizing your savings plans. Like,
Yes.
what are the tips and the
Yeah.
tools that you used that you think other people should not go without?
Yeah, because for me, I feel like there's a lot of people saying, save this percentage of your salary, save this percentage of your salary.
And we know with you, it's 80%, Percy. You're 80% of my salary I put away.
And I don't seem to like that, especially because our expenses are not the same. So I feel like the most important thing is to start saving. If you start saving, let's say you save 10,000, you will have an interest to see that money growing to 20,000.
10,000 was a month.
No. Yeah, you save.
Is this you?
You save 10,000 in a year, and then next year you'll want to see yourself saving better. So you'll start coming up with strategies to say, what can I do? What can I cut down? So that I can be able to save better. That's when you start closing accounts. That's when you even start looking for other opportunities to say, what can I do to raise more income so that I can save more? So I feel like the most important thing beside all the strategies is to start saving, and then you start to deal with challenges relating to saving and you overcome them. And then within time, you'll save amounts that people can be shocked that a person can save this amount.
Percy, when I save, do I put it under my mattress? What must I do? What do you do with your savings?
Yes, for me it's different because whenever
you put it under your mattress.
Whenever I'm saving so that I can invest. I don't save for saving. So I just want my money to be in a safe place where I can be able to take it within time and build something with that money, because I've realized that just saving for saving, it's more like you are losing in terms of when you compare the interest you are getting from the bank and you check the inflation of what is happening outside there. I mean, these days, even your salary, I feel like it's losing value, because for me this year where I'm working, the increase is 5% for the year. But I look at the inflation, and the inflation it's 7.1%. And the increase, it's meant to adjust your inflation. It's supposed to be above your inflation.
But it's not.
So it means every year our salary it's becoming weaker and weaker, and us as people, we are becoming poorer and poorer.
Say it again.
So it's very important for us to invest so that we can be able to get those other streams of income.
I hear what you're saying, but I mean, the thing you're describing is absolutely true. We're getting poorer and poorer, and it becomes very difficult to stay motivated to now take that little money that you have and go, I'm going to put this away. I'm going to put it towards a particular savings goal. Let me be innovative and creative about how I'm going to make more money. It's very difficult to do that. You're working a 9 to 5. You've got a life to live. You have to stay healthy. You've got a family to take care of. You've got bills to pay. You are spending weekends trying to watch Netflix, but also hang out with your friends. It's a lot that's going on.
Yeah.
How do you stay motivated?
And with that as well, I feel like saving shouldn't be like a emergency response to say things are going so bad, let me start saving, because saving has its own process. It takes time to learn to save. If you decide today to say, I'm going to start to save, it might take you 3 years to actually start saving. At the moment, you'll be just saving and going and withdraw, and then you are just complaining, and there's a lot happening. So it takes a long time to start.
Percy, just because I'm withdrawing from my savings doesn't mean I'm not saving. The saving is there. I just choose to spend it.
So it's very important to develop that saving skills as early as possible. And if you can do it while you are earning less, it will be easier to do it when you are earning more.
But how do I stay motivated to continue to do that when times are tough?
Yes, for me, it's about goals. I feel like my goals are more higher than anything that I have to make sure that I'm focused, and then I have to cut down on certain things, because there's a lot of things that I can be doing with my money at the moment, which I just say I'm postponing this for the next 5 years, and then I will be saving so that in the next 5 years I can do these things without even feeling them.
All right, before I let you go, what advice would you give to viewers out there who are struggling to save?
Yes, the advice will be to say, I feel like the moment you say I want to save, it's more like you're saying I want to change my lifestyle. So you have to look at your lifestyle to say, what can I do in my lifestyle so that I can be able to save? Because a person will say, I'm struggling so much to save. When you ask them, what have you done in order to be able to save? There's nothing that they have changed in their lifestyle. So it's very important to look at your lifestyle and say, what is the thing that I can stop doing in order to convert this money into saving? Because saving, it's more like you've got two paragraphs, you've got two columns, which one is just expenses and one is just saving. It's more like you are taking your expenses and dropping them so that you can increase your savings. So it's those things where, like, when you have a phone, you say, I'm going to finish paying off this phone in December, and then I'm not gonna upgrade whatever money that I was paying on the phone.
I'm gonna put it into the
savings. Yes. So I feel like it's important for everyone to look at themselves, because it's different things. People are using money in a different way, and then it's not just a one advice for everyone. You have to look at yourself, because for somebody, they might be wasting money in a car. Somebody might be wasting money in just takeaways. So it's different things. You have to go through your expenses and track your expenses to say, what am I doing with my money? And then you will find that thing that you have to decrease or to cut. Yes.
Hey, you make cutting sound so easy, Percy. You're just a save. The rest of us want to enjoy our lives and eat our money, Percy. You work so hard for our money. You want us not to spend it.
And then I feel like the goal for saving is that you can be able to enjoy without even feeling the pressure of that. Yeah.
Like later.
Yeah, later on.
After you have the 10,000, then the other 10,000.
For you to decide to say, now I'm going to buy a car, and then you go and buy it cash, and then you come back with it because you've got proper savings.
Okay, so you're deferring this sort of short-term, immediate pleasure for long-term, sustainable pleasure.
Yes.
Percy, as always, thank you so much for joining me in studio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Like he said, save. Cut out the things in your life that you don't really need. You need to look at your lifestyle and see what you can cut out so you can save more money. Up to 80% of your salary if you can, because that's what Percy does. Listen, I hope you took something from tonight's episode, as we always do with Percy, learning all about savings and, changing your lifestyle for the tomorrow, the betterment of your tomorrow instead of the enjoyment of today. That is all I have for you tonight. This has been the Private Property Podcast. I'm your host, Sibs Malaba Matiela, and I'll see you next time.